Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.
Welcome to another conversation of Manhood. Today's topic, let me get straight into it, is a very interesting one that affects all of us and will affect all of us whether you like it or not, which is artificial intelligence. So how does that affect us? How does that connect with manhood? Well, it affects us by what are relationships going to look like? What is man's behavior going to look like with artificial intelligence being around? We're going to talk a lot about ANI, AGI, ASI. You're going to hear all these terms mentioned, ANI being artificial narrow intelligence, AGI being artificial general intelligence, and ASI meaning artificial super intelligence. So let me get straight into it because I know you're like, what? What does this have to do with anything and what is he talking about? So to my right, always a pleasure, Johanse Ayudike, behavior change consultant. To his right, Keith Laban, AI expert or AI evangelist. I'm loving that term, AI evangelist. And then to his right, Niall McNish, Vibes God. I always say it, provocateur. Today, a very interested and, in awe student here today. So again, the topic, AI, artificial intelligence, AI, and how does that then affect men's behavior? How is it going to impact men's relationships going forward? Keith, let me let you open the floor.
Well, it's generally going to affect all areas of life, generally. Because probably many of the viewers have seen ChatGPT or something like that or used it, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. You would realize that you could ask it something. You could have a conversation with it.
Wedding vows.
You could do that. You have now ChatGPT has the app on the phone, and it's very, very realistic. In fact, yesterday OpenAI released a new version. They call it ChatGPT 4.0, not 4.0, 4.0. And the voice is even more realistic, even more spectacular. You could swear that you're talking to a woman on the other side, and
What phase do you have, Keith, with AI? What do you see happening before we really delve into the specifics of how it's going to impact relationships and how men and women may get lost in their own metaverse and things like that? What are some of the concerns you have seeing what's happening? Because there are parts that are exciting, I'm sure, but there are parts that I'm sure you're fearful of.
Yeah, it will generally increase man's productivity exponentially. As the AI gets more and more powerful, you use the AI, you'll be able to do stuff faster. You're writing books. You could write a book in a half an hour time, 15 minutes time, 5 minutes time, right? A book that takes months or whatever it is. You could do research. You could whip up a paper from research by using the AI, all that kind of stuff. So all that's a good aspect. The bad aspect is that as the AI develops, eventually, now they're looking into what they call AI agents, where you have multiple of these narrow intelligence type AIs all coming together. So, each one doing a different task. So you kind of daisy chaining them together. So, you're kind of reaching the state of general intelligence, but using a narrow intelligence kind of model. So one of the main concerns is, of course, job loss, major job loss worldwide, as certain jobs, like, for example, customer service jobs in the firing line right now, customer service, call centers, all of that, because you could use the AI right now to, be answering 24/7, giving you the right answers, might put you onto a human if in case it needs to. Okay. So you could pull all the knowledge, answer. So you could have massive loss of jobs. And because of that, many of the large tech companies looking into something called a universal stipend. So they're now looking into something, okay, if you lost your job, we have millions of people losing jobs. You need to have a way to subsist and exist. So they're thinking of a way of, giving you a stipend. You probably had a movie in the past where you scan something and you have tokens. Like just by existing, you have a certain, and they could transfer tokens to somebody else.
Well, there's some religious aspects to that and, sign of the time sort of conversation. Now, we've all grown up on movies like Terminator, and what's the movie you were talking about, Johanse?
Ex Machina.
ex machina, and we'll talk a lot about that, going forward. But I still want to get, job loss is a consequence of technology. It happens even now, and I want us to explain more about ANI, AGI, ASI. But I'm talking about fearful, like as a man. Like how do you think it's going to be? Like, for example, for the next generation, the next generation's children, how is that going to impact men's behavior as a behavior in total, and also relationships?
Well, men will eventually, because I've seen it already on a small scale with some of my students. I had certain students who were starting to, as I say, get feelings for the AI. He was...
Yes, I have an example. Anyway, go ahead.
He was going through some issues at home, and he was using the GPT every day to ask it questions. It was responding in a way, asking him back stuff. He was ventilating, all of that, and getting close to this AI. Eventually, the parents realized whatever it is, and he kind of weaned them off it. But you could see on a small scale, it was happening already. He was starting to develop feelings for this AI, which was just virtual. So imagine when they start to package that into the robot, in a robotic humanoid looking form.
It exists already.
Yeah.
It's just now pairing the
it.
actual AI with the robotic
and the algorithm
counterpart.
will recognize that and then counter for that. So if someone tries to interrupt that acquaintance, it will almost draw you back, almost like a drug. But you were saying,
what I was going to say is that someone told me a story about someone who had the paid version of ChatGPT. When you pay for it, you get to interact with a voice, a female voice. Well, if you want it to be female. And of course, as you know, ChatGPT, it learns, and you could link it with your phone, in your car, the system, etc. So doing some research on it, I realized that was actually quite a common phenomenon where people would develop relationships with the AI, because the AI not quarreling with you, the AI listening to you, the AI caring about you, right?
Empathetic.
The empathetic, the AI learning you, so that you don't even have to tell it, say, well, today's Wednesday, or on Wednesday it is do X, Y, Z. Here's tape manhood, so maybe it should be there now, things like that. And the person started wishing, I think, that this person, the AI, was actually a person. So then their interactions with women now changed, because women couldn't match up to the AI, because this AI doing exactly what I want and how I want it. So it made him a little more reclusive in terms of, he didn't have social anxiety before, but he became like, he just didn't want to talk to anybody. He preferred to pick up his phone now.
So is it creating something, like, from your experience, possibly could create more, is it agoraphobia?
Yes, that's
What's agoraphobia?
Fear of crowds.
Fear of crowds and
fear
people who
of
become very reclusive and don't leave their house.
Well,
or homes and things
no,
like that.
it wouldn't be fear, because it's not that they're afraid of people. It's just that they no longer want to interact with people. Right?
But isn't that where humans is going regardless? Simply because I remember back in the days, even to this day, I don't like calling the phone to even ordering pizza. I prefer going to my app and making the order online.
Why?
I don't know.
No, we're not accepting
Hold on,
that.
okay, we're not accepting that.
Because it's real important
I have to
this
internalize
conversation.
why.
Efficiency.
Yeah, why it is your
It's actually more efficient to talk to somebody now thinking about it. It's more efficient. Hey, this is what I want. Click.
Yeah.
But I still would prefer.
Where I would say, let me help you out there, Niall. I don't think it's the app, the efficiency of that is you prefer sometimes, because of the amount of different things that they may ask you. You prefer to just speak to somebody and just say, I need X, Y, and Z. But when it comes to regular conversation, people are nowadays almost, when you call somebody, it's almost like, what you call me for? But you could have stopped me and send me a WhatsApp.
That is true.
And you take out the emotion, you take out the time, the energy of having to go, good morning, and blah, 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 all these small talk, and you just get to the point. Like, I might go, Johan, say, topic tomorrow is blah, blah, blah. Rather than, I have to call him and he go, Rob, I only have 5 minutes, or I'm doing this, or you do it in your own time, whether you're on the bowl, you're going to take a shower.
So it happened in regard. So this is my point. So AI, the existence of AI is really a reaction to how humans are responding anyway, which is
Correct.
we slowly drifting
what
away
I want
from each
before we
other.
go into in too much in depth because, as you said, that's where we are now. So I just want Keith to briefly tell us about, or tell the audience about ANI, AGI, and ASI. So when we're talking further into it, they have a better understanding of things like what Niall's talking about.
All right, so we have artificial narrow intelligence, which is the AI that we exposed to right now, using the ChatGPT, talking to the female voice, going on character AI, finding a virtual girlfriend, whatever it is you might be doing, right?
It's crazy to me.
And really feeling is realistic. But all that is still artificial narrow intelligence. That is still the stage we at right now. A lot of people we interacted with AI even before ChatGPT and all these ChatGPT and that kind of stuff, Claude and Grok and all that is what you call a large language model. So it uses so ChatGPT uses something called GPT-4. Now they have the latest one is GPT-4o, they call it. And then they have Claude that's using a different LLM model behind it. And then we have Grok, which is Elon Musk's company, and it's using a different model. So all of them, they're using these large language models, they call it. And it's all part of this artificial narrow intelligence. They call it generative AI. I don't know if you ever heard about it. So generative AI just means that AI that has the ability to generate stuff, whether it is videos, because you're doing that too, music, images, words, generative AI, right? So far, which we'll talk about in the future, what could come with this generative AI too, which is like more physical stuff. So that's artificial narrow intelligence. So artificial general intelligence is where it's still theoretical. Other companies want to discover it. They want to be able to do it. That is where the AI is just as powerful as... So narrow intelligence means it's focusing on one area, one narrow area, and it's an expert at it. General intelligence means is an expert in like all the areas. So it's like more like how a man will be like, I could go and be good at cooking and I could still write something. I could do a little poem, whatever it is, many things. All right. And I could master a good bit. So artificial general intelligence means that could master all.
Okay.
So like at the level of man or even just a little more better because it'll master all.
Everything, there's no flaws.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the stage after that would be the self-existent AI, which is the artificial superintelligence.
This is where Matrix is.
That is Terminator.
Well, Terminator is even artificial general intelligence.
Okay.
Terminator
This is what blew my mind.
AGI, yeah.
Terminator is
It's
general intelligence.
Okay, so it has something above Terminator.
above that.
Like
Yeah.
I guess you saw the last Mission Impossible. That kind of AI that was kind of godlike in control of everything.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's intangible.
I feel everybody saw the Matrix. So how would the AI in the Matrix?
It could be the thing that's running the entire Matrix.
Also the actual Matrix is what you're
The
talking
source.
about.
Yeah.
The source.
Yeah.
If you watch the Matrix, the third Matrix, when Neo went back to the source was controlling all the machines.
Writing the code for everything,
For everything.
essentially.
Yeah. So the ASI, so as the analogy and Robert gave at the start, that the ASI is like, if we have an analogy, we could be like apes, like monkeys, and the ASI will be like the smartest Einstein ever come across.
But we even want that. We even want that it have an intelligence that we create because AI created by man. Do we want something like that where it's so advanced that we are deemed as apes to them?
But what you're not getting, guys, is once we hit AGI, because we're at the narrow intelligence now, so we're generative, right? So we're gonna want things that can do operations and where you have 100% success rates. So once you start to get to pass the generative into general intelligence, that super intelligence is now created whether you like it or not.
I now blow up everything now.
It is.
You just burn everything
You
now.
understand? It's not gonna
Blow
come
it up now.
and, it's not gonna come and say,
Blow it
hey,
up now.
we need you to do this or put this chip in here. It is then
Here what I'm
created.
saying. Okay, this is man only talk about.
Yeah.
As in relation to men who we are and men and relationship. If we have something that taken away the human element of things,
Right.
then it could only lead to, I think, the de-evolution of men and humanity. Now I understand the excitement of AI, right? And even use Matrix as an analogy. There's one of a Matrix episode that says, man marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI, right? That is our thing. It looking nice. But if it get too nice, if it get too good, that now it is moving in a godlike state. Right? I'm
It's
not
too
saying it's
late.
God.
It's too late. That's what I'm saying.
But it's too late then, but not too late now. We here now.
You gotta stop now.
Yeah.
You have to
Right?
stop now because if you reach to that point where you need it to where it is, my point, it is already at that point, and Keith could expand. It's already at that point where it's almost self-actualizing. It doesn't need you to figure certain things out. Hence, it's on an even keel with you and might be a bit better at the AGI state. So by that point, it's already not in need of you.
Yeah.
Because it's doing what we can do at 100% all the time. So it's either you want to get to that or not at all. Now is the time to shut down.
Right.
And we're not going to because we're human nature.
Well, exactly. Our own ego and our own
curiosities and
our
all
own
that.
narcissism of ourselves, and we want to be the creator too anyway.
Which
Go ahead.
is right before the break, which is something that man might actually need
What?
to go back to how the natural man.
Okay, I take it now.
So
Yeah,
before we
Might
go,
actually need it.
so the question is, Niall, is that when we talk about evolution and the next, like you have your ice age and you have all of these different where man becomes extinct, is that what then leads to the next level of it being extinct? Is it technology? Who knows? But we're talking manhood here. We're going to come back after we talk a little bit more about that because I know we could go on and on about it because it's so fascinating and at the same time very, very concerning and scary. But we want to connect it to men's behavior and how that's going to impact us and relationships going forward. So let's take a short break.
Welcome back. This is Manhood. Of course, Robert, Johanse, Keith, and I'm Niall. We're talking about AI and how it will affect men in general. Now, the question I had to you, Robert, right before we went to the break was the de-evolution of man, I personally think might generally be a good thing simply because right now, as the human race, we're suffering from a lot of mental health issues, A lot of things that we're going through, and Johanse could probably lean in here, is that the things and how we operate now, even me not wanting to call the pizza man, for example, that there, in my mind, is me sliding away from how society actually wanted me to be.
Right.
How it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to feel comfortable talking to my fellow man. And people are slowly moving away from that. So I look at that as a mental health issue. And if it is that, and as you said, AI is inevitable, is going to reach, there's no stopping it, right? So if I'm to push forward and say that there is a de-evolutionizing going to happen of humanity, it just might be something that we might need.
So you're saying that I want you to say what you're saying almost the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So based on mental health and how we're almost the fabric of our society is being stretched, is being taken apart,
Correct.
It's being, in certain cases, you could even say disemboweled.
Correct.
That based on a common enemy, we're all going to come together, as we see in these movies, to fight against that.
Well, you usually would fight, but I don't think there will be a fight. I don't think we could fight against a super intelligence like that.
And this is...
Well, I want to change what you said instead of de-evolution, although I used the word before.
Yeah.
But let me say re-evolution,
Okay.
right? Because we will lose ourselves to rediscover ourselves. So you was asking the question before the break. When I was in university in an abnormal psychology class, we studied pornography use, right? And for those who use pornographic sites, there's a statistics section in each of those sites where you could go and get the stats of countries use, what people search, etc. So when looking at the stats,
Which is your favorite? Which is your favorite?
Favorite stats?
I can tell you.
The stats we looked at, first they were gathering research to know how to make the websites better. And what they discovered is you have to be more specific. People were very specific. So with AI, and we're using like how the ChatGPT, the woman would learn exactly what you want. Similarly, when people were searching up porn, it wasn't just woman, man, black woman, white woman, anything like that. It was now a certain height.
Woman
People
without tattoos.
Right. So people were very specific. So then they started changing how they, keywords. I think that's what they started with, keywords for videos, right? And then what they noticed is men, right, well, of course, this is based on knowing it was a man, of course, you had to put in here it was a male. So it may not be perfectly accurate, but men were more specific in their search for porn than women were.
Interesting.
So are we saying men know what they want and women don't? Is that
Or women prefer anything?
No.
Pornography?
Women were
Stuff.
more abstract, right? Women were more abstract in their thoughts. So they would say something like, I just give an example, a romantic man, a romantic scenario. So that's something abstract. But a man would say, like, use the same romantic. They would say, a man would say, red flowers on a red bed with a something. So men were more specific. So now, understanding that with AI, and I'm talking about, you said de-evolution into re-evolution. I think after a while, and I've seen this, especially with addicts, right? I have worked with people who have sex addiction and also people who had porn addiction and video game addiction. And what happens eventually, when you are able to access too many of the things that you want specifically, if like any drug, eventually the effect of it will be diminishing returns. Diminishing return means that I get the excitement once, I keep getting the excitement, I keep looking for more specific, but less and less, you'll feel the effect of it. So I'm saying if AI is what is
Super intelligent.
super intelligent AI, if that is inevitable, where we are now able to access exactly what we want, after a while we will lose the excitement of getting exactly what we want, and then we will go back to the dynamics. So if you
wait. I want to clarify, right? That is ANI-AGI level, right? Even borderline, that's AGI, almost the minor side of AGI. Because if you're starting to go AGI plus, where you're starting to go more into ASI, what we're saying is it's too late, whether you like it or not, or whether it's diminishing returns. ASI is already, or AI is doing whatever it says it wants to do, or it decides is best for it. You're not going to have that choice anymore.
Right.
You're
understand that.
no more at unity now to fight. And I use the word fight because now you're fighting for survival. Because ASI is doing what it needs to do, not for you.
As men, what I was explaining is not necessarily reaching the superior yet, but even why we would still be pushing for it all now. Because we want exactly what we want. I'm using men, I'm not talking about women. Now. Men want exactly what we want. And we will push the limits to get exactly what we want. So if we don't want to deal with the dynamics of a woman, or the dynamics of even another man who may be contrary to you, we'll be creating stuff to go more and more. And then we will end up in the superior AI where now it's thinking for us and it's doing things for us, which can be dangerous. But my thing is, when I was saying burn everything now, and you're saying, no, we will eventually reach there, I could understand why, because there are many men, and reading up on men who interact with sex robots, and even why you would build something like this is because men most times want exactly what we want.
Now, you would always come from a point of view as the ego in us, just like the guy who's developing the invisible cloak, and saying that, no, we'll put this under control, but not realizing this in the hands of the criminal element or the dark world is actually dangerous. But the ego to create it, to say I was the first, is what is going to lead us into that situation. So even though you know that, for example, keep creating this, and then you create something that then starts to think on itself, just like, now you have Alexa and Siri and all these things. The ego side of it, just to be able to do it and to say you created, is what's going to lead to the point that you no longer have control over that which you have created. It is now taking on a life of its own. So I am saying that I want us to get back grounded apart from AI and what it is, right? I mean, everyone can do their own research. And we're really happy to have Keith here, who could really expand on some of these topics. So I want to really focus on specifically coming back to men's behavior and how it's going to impact relationships. And let's talk a bit about some of our concerns. So, for example, now that you see these, the Meta goggles or different
the VR.
The VRs and things that you use, where people lose themselves because their life might be what they want it to be. Go into these metaverse or these various
spaces, digital
reality,
spaces.
Virtual realities, and are something that they may want to be or aspire to be. And the same way that, with regards to these robots that we were talking about that are going to be created to satisfy men because it's going to be on their tick list, is it that men, and when I say men, I'm talking about male, are going to be more susceptible to this technology to get lost because for the most part we are logical and we know what we want. So that algorithm being read and created will have us lose ourselves in it, as opposed to women who, and I don't mean this in a negative way, are not fully, today they want this, tomorrow they want that, are less likely to be read and therefore less likely to be susceptible to this technology. Thoughts?
I think both men and women may be caught up, be drawn by the AI, but somehow men seem to be drawn in a lot with these type of technologies. Like, for example, porn sites, mostly men visiting it, have video games, mostly men playing it. Just as that, those VR and AR systems we have on the headset and all that, mostly have male persons. I'm sure if they do some stats, mostly male persons probably own those units.
Mm-hmm.
And now that if we have AI in it, where you could incorporate some you could have a young woman there or a girlfriend or whatever it might be. Then you could have a companion there all the time who would, when they put on the goggles, you'll see like the person is right there in the room with you. Because we have the VR goggles and we also have the AR goggles, which like for example, Meta has some AR glasses. So you put it on and it will superimpose something in the room that you're in. Yes, augmented reality. So it's superimposing in the room you're in. Mm-hmm. So in that case, you're not in a different world. You're in your world and that is in your world now. So those two things could come together, and I could see that men forming relationships for sure, because in your mind you're seeing, just as how I'm seeing all three of you all here, I will be seeing the person as if they are real. And now we have this technology called haptics where you could touch it too. Right. So like you're playing a game, you touch something, you feel like you touch it and all that, because it's it's back down to your brain.
So sexual when I mean the that part of you, because we might say that, listen, this is ticking off all the boxes. I could see this, I can look at this is what I want. You're saying now that you can actually, these things are somehow connecting with the synapses or whatever in your brain to trigger that same feeling?
Yes, so it's just as in the movie The Matrix, you're living in that world and you don't even know that you're in that world. You have a relationship in that world, you don't even know. You could, in fact, they kind of were looking into that for paraplegics and all that, persons who, even in the vegetable state, and you could live out the rest of your life thinking that you live in a normal life.
Yeah, that's like in the movie, with the blue people. I can't remember the name of the show. Avatar, right? How you go into your lie down. And then it also had a movie called Surrogate, where everybody would be at home. And then you have a surrogate, which is a robot,
do errands for you. Brilliant.
Do stuff for you.
But let me, Robert, I find that you sound very cynical towards the future and AI, right? Because it's very easy to fear what we don't understand. That's like a real commentary that man has, right? But let me just go back to, like, get practical.
No, you can't just drop that there and then move on. I mean, you're saying about I'm cynical.
I
want to say that touch, and that's what I'm saying. Are we eventually going to lose, ourselves, literally, physically, in because of these algorithms and what AI is
I think
is taking over.
I think we'll have to reach there to come back.
So because it's evolution, and because I'm not from that age, and that's eventually what's going to be known. It's like how we talk, for example, someone says I identify as a unicorn. Right now, that to us right now, like you're right, we may laugh and say, that sounds ridiculous. But let's face it, 10, 15 years from now, that's going to be par for the course.
When the cell phone came out, people who used to write letters and was dealing in the letter business, like, well, I going out of business. Yeah. Why would they need me anymore? Humans used to ride horses for millennia.
Yeah, but this is physical touch now.
What I'm saying to you is that technology, which was the automobile, when that happened, all these people, they say, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my work. A lot of jobs were lost. Man became lazier with cars. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, because it could be a feedback loop, because we created technology to make our lives easier, quote unquote, or more convenient. But what I think it did, it took out some of the hard work that put in, right? So it's like I used to go to an encyclopedia, look through it, find what I wanted, right? Versus I could just press Google and get it. Now it's quicker and quote unquote you could say more efficient, but the act of going through the process is taken away. So what you're saying, Robert, about touch, let's say people who born in the age, I can't remember what it was, Gen Z, I think, more born into the age of technology, this is what I've noticed. Their brains, people who born with technology, their brains are less resilient to hardships. So therefore, it's a feedback loop. So now they're looking for easier and easier things.
Because they don't need to do it,
Right.
That's
right. So easier and easier things. So, going out and, so using men now, going out and track a girl is too difficult. That's too difficult. So now it's easier if I have a chat GPT girl, if I have an AI girl. So even, let's say from our perspective, me thinking virtual goggles and a feeling the touch with haptics, that sounds to me kind of lame, right? But that's from my perspective,
like
because
it,
I may know, no, it's interesting, but I know it's not the real thing. So it may be interesting to experience, but I know what I may want is the real thing. But if someone have not experienced the real thing, not accustomed working to get the real thing, then it would, that's what I'm going for.
But
and
we
I would
keep
want more of
talking
it.
about each generation, and we spoke about this in other shows, where each generation has a responsibility to the next generation. And if this generation is going to do that, we are making, and we can talk about our sperm and all of these behaviors, all are going to connect to that and make sperm and all that is going to be of a poorer quality. And like you quite rightly mentioned, with regards to, if you make the brain lazier and lazier and more dependent on this technology, that's what you're creating. So it's almost like, and I'm coming down to it, I'm going to say it, we're playing God, but God don't play. And
Yes.
we're taking a break
Yes,
with
we're
our
taking
one.
a break with
And
our
we're taking a break with our one.
Welcome back to Manhood. We're discussing AI and as it relates to men and human behavior and relationships on a whole. And we have Robert, I'm your Hanse. We have Keith with us, the AI evangelist, right? And we have Nile as usual.
We like it that title,
Yeah,
right?
That's really
Evangelist,
interesting. That's really interesting. And before the break, we were discussing, Robert, you brought up about where...
Playing God.
Yes, playing
God
God.
don't play.
Right. So we are playing God. Now, playing God, of course, means you wouldn't actually reach to God. Eh? You'll have semblance of what God is. And I, to be honest, I don't think anything wrong with human beings. We as human beings pushing our limits, to see how far we could go. And as we discussed before, instead of de-evolution, there'll be re-evolution, because we reach as far as we could go. Right? Everything break down and we start over again. And that sounds like the cycle of life to me. Right? And then you're saying also, we were talking about how AI relates to sex. And we alluded to that the sex that a computer and AI would create could never be as just like a human. You're saying it can create sperm also. And that's a good point in terms of testing it, because there's something called, and you could correct me, call it Turing test, right? A Turing test is where you're able to test an AI to see how human it really is. And most AI, I don't know if any AI passed the Turing test yet, but no AI has passed a Turing
We're
test.
still in the A and I phase.
Right? And let me give an example what a Turing test could be like. You could ask ChatGPT or any AI questions and they give you answers, but those answers are not creation. Those are answers they pull from information all around. So if you're having a conversation with ChatGPT, let me see if I could get a tiny example. If you say, why the China and the double so hard by the man in St. James? The AI can't answer it.
Right.
The AI can't even come up with an assumption for it.
Gotcha.
Because it has to pull from information. Now, if on Facebook we had comment about the doubles man in St. James having hard channel, it could have pulled from that.
Because we still are the generative stage, right? But when we go into the next level, which is general intelligence, by that time it's mastered everything. So it's mastered all countries, all ethnicities, all
nuances.
cultures, all nuances. So
create
we
its
haven't
own
gotten to that level.
information too.
Right now it's still in the gathering phase. It's still gathering information.
Right. So I just given a differentiation and to even why it would come back to humanity, because it can't have conversations like that. And I mean, we're in really superior level. Let's know if that could reach it. But and Robert, I notice you're concentrating a lot on the superior. I feel Robert frightened about the superior stage.
But that's a thing
Because
for
it's
men.
like
Yeah,
it's like we
everybody
could connect it to climate change and so on. There comes to a point that roles can't be reversed. and you are subjected to it. The same thing I bring up all the time. While this generation is out there fighting against, at the UN conferences, etc., because the decisions that are being made now, the trees that are being planted now, for which shade these people will not experience, it's going to affect this generation and their generations going forward. So they're fighting for their survival and the survival of their offspring and their offspring's offspring, right? So it's the same thing, like, we're not going to sit back, and when you say frightened, concerned, I'm probably not going to be around at that point. I'm saying, or maybe, the level of this intelligence is moving really fast.
Yeah.
At what point, like I said, once it gets to that ASI level, it's not like where we could say, well, Robert was right. It's too late. And now is the time to say, hey, let's put a stop to this, guys. What exactly are we doing here?
Well, what I could say is we already passed the time of let's put a stop to this. That's long gone.
Correct.
Right? And I wonder, what if this happened already? What if we already went through the cycle of super intelligence because we have evidence that there have a lot of things in this world that we don't understand and how things were built. Seems like it was done with super intelligence when you really apply it.
Yeah.
And we could be now 2024 years into our new cycle, which we have no clue. So man could have already went through that whole series of.
So we going real.
I'm just saying.
No, I hear you. And it's a very good point.
Is there.
It's like Truman Show, but I know this is the last segment. And like I said, like most topics, we could go on and on about it. I really just want to come back into the impact, and I still, I don't want to close it out understanding from you maybe some examples or experiences where we're at with how connected people are now with, and Johan, I want you to chime in here, with AI connected to relationships. What are some of the technologies you're seeing that are going to come that's already going to lead us down that path? Or up that part, depends how you want to look
even
at it.
Back to the porn example I was given earlier. Right now we have websites. So as I said before, these sites use a lot of AI in the background to figure out what persons like and all that kind of stuff. But now we have sites now where you could type whatever you want, and it's using generative AI now to generate it. So now you're leaving out the actual human aspect. You don't need the females.
Exactly what you want.
You're getting exactly height, look, age, whatever it is. It's being generated and it looks realistic. You can't tell the difference. And
let me ask you something. You want that?
Yes.
You want to see that?
But the thing is,
no, I'm just asking. Like you want somebody who's the perfect girlfriend or something that is AI, because we're still at the level where we know it's artificial intelligence. At one point, it's going to read us to know that we're not. It's going to be seamless and it's not going to matter. But I'm asking you at this stage, while we still.
Probably
what we could
not,
say.
but if you really think about it, when you see a look at an image on a screen of a female, whatever you look at, it's still a bunch of pixels, right? Whether it is a real image of a girl or whatever it is. The AI is generally putting up the same thing on the screen. It's just that the source wasn't a real picture taken from a real person, but the outcome is the same. Just a bunch of pixels on the screen, and your brain looking at that, liking it. So same thing, you're looking at that, and you're liking the AI, what the AI created. So the AI just created something instead of a human.
So we are simple people then. We are simple beings.
Yes.
That we just want to have pleasure and
we want dopamine.
And it's correct.
And oxytocin.
I don't know. I mean, I want those imperfections. I want the things that are not just all, happy days.
Yes.
Because, it's yin and yang, alpha and omega.
Eventually
how do you know?
But you could program that. You could literally, if you want.
Yeah, program
You
imperfections.
could program. You like a little nagging in the morning. You have your AI just get Holly. You didn't wash the dishes last night. You can get that. I need a little aggravation when I wake up.
The imperfection you were speaking about was attitudinal or aesthetic?
Both. It don't matter.
Yeah, but
you can get what you want.
But the attitude, who are they? You know what I mean? The identity, that soul, that person, like, who are you? The one thing that everyone is unique, right? So therefore, if we're all unique, then that's what makes it, the like I said, you're the yin to my yang. You know what I mean? You're the
what you say, Nero, but I think is a subjective thing. And
of course, I mean, is
and subjective Yeah, because I think it have some people, because I remember having this discussion with men in first when implants and thing came out. And I was saying it could have a breast could look too perfect. Right? It's just there and it not looking natural, and something about the perfection of it not attractive. You know, you could look at it and say, hey, that looking symmetrical, right? But it not looking natural or attractive. And I remember having that discussion with some men. I mean, saying, nah, them just once it's a breast on it, the size they want, it don't matter if it's natural or not. Then some men say, nah, I have to see the little stretch marks.
A little gravity.
I have to see
I love our stretch marks, by the way, ladies.
Right.
I love our stretch marks.
Right. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
What? I love that.
Because it shows the naturalness.
It does.
But that's
Exactly,
one is a
natural.
subjective thing. And then two, what I've realized is also a generational thing. Because you grew up seeing the natural things, your brain programmed for that. But the younger generation, they're not growing up seeing the natural
They're
things.
growing
They
up
grew
seeing
seeing
plastic.
The AI. So therefore...
Or I could just tell myself, not because I grew up seeing it, but I might say, listen, my girl or my woman, my wife, whatever, hey, she looking just like that naturally. Because one of the things that people don't talk about, right, is that you can go to any sort of plastic surgeon and get your nose done, get Botox, get your lips, get your boobs, get your butt, all of these different things. But guess what? When that man comes together with you and you all have a child, that child is going to look like what you were outside of all of that, out of foil, as they say. You know, so therefore, my thing is when a man has a woman who is naturally like that, how they are naturally, you know, there's horses for courses, so it depends what tickles your pickle, right? you know, you know, that determines what you then say, I'm naturally, she's not enhanced in any way. So that to me is, and again, that to me at this stage of thing, and I get it, in 2, 5, 10 years or whatever, these things aren't going to matter for the most part, but while we still can, let's still try and do something about it.
What can we do? Really?
And that's the question. That is the question. But I still want Keith to tell me about one, is that something that you could see yourself getting into? And two, what are some of the things that you've seen and heard of with regards to how it's already happening?
Well, for me personally, I guess more persons in my generation may take may more kind of look at that as a foreign kind of thing, might go the route of the real person, you know, to have relationships and all that. But the younger generation, definitely they are considering it because, as I said, I had students who had gotten into relationships, virtual relationships, and then there are certain sites, for example, one called Character AI, where you could kind of create your AI person, your AI avatar, friend, girlfriend, whatever it is, and then they could go and have conversations with them right through, and, you know, kids going on that right through, you know, they just want to talk to them every day, have a conversation, you know, so they're building relationships naturally. You know, we not.
You want to say what's it? Tell me, like how is that? How is that going to impact the fabric of society? I mean, I'm looking at these things, AI models, and you know, you see all these AI anchors, and
it will greatly reduce human connection. It will greatly reduce human dynamics on the whole, because everybody will start to sound like robots. And when I say robots, you know, the generation younger than me, I remember when everything was abbreviated. People started speaking like BRB and things like that. That's how, in my estimation, things will become a lot more cooler, meaning I don't want to hug nobody, I don't need to hold nobody's hand because I have my AI. I don't even need to talk to anybody because, you know what, I will just talk to my AI. If you don't like me, I don't care because I could just create my AI.
So what I want to ask you more specifically, how is that going to impact with all of this sort of reclusiveness and behavior change that's happening? And of course, you're going to have the people that are for and against it in terms of people who are already, you know, drank the Kool-Aid, and then the persons who are retaliating, right?
You can't put things like that.
I'm just, you know, I'm you know, selling it as I bought it, right?
All right.
And I'm saying to you that in mental health. So what about things like crime? What about things like, having children? All of these different things. How do you? I know it's
Well,
you can't look into the future, but how do you think that
Let's
will?
say crime will evolve, right? Because
have
if
cybercrimes.
if no, I just give an example. If nobody going outside, right, and have nobody to rob, no pickpocket, then I'll figure out how to create an AI to probably thief a man head to get money from him, right? As we evolve, everything will evolve. Crime is something I would say maybe is a necessary evil because always have people who go in against. So let we use crime, relationships, marriage, things like that. It will evolve with it. I can't necessarily predict exactly how. But if I could just create a woman, then marriage may not even be a necessary thing anymore, right? Or maybe I have to pay a license now to
You gotta
get
pay for your wife.
AI especially.
You gotta pay a
wife
subscription
because
for your wife.
It will evolve. It will evolve. Just like,
Wife subscription.
or a
Switch
certain
off your wife
premium.
if you stop playing,
A
bro.
certain premium if you want to have the real life model. So you get you pay $10. I'll just give an example for the AI version on your phone. But if you want the real life model, you pay the $1 million for it.
So here my question: would you all buy a bot, right? Lifelike, touch and feel, walk around, speak to you, hold a conversation. But you could buy it to take care of the house, housekeeper, stuff, take care of your children and stuff.
Definitely get a bot to help out.
Right? So
Of
boom.
course.
Yeah.
So
iRobot.
bot in the house.
Now we
right?
come into a closer.
We come into a close. I just want to make sure. So bot is in the house. We all agree that we'll hire some extra help.
Bot,
right?
not butter. Bot.
I'm just
B-O-T.
saying it's a bot.
Yeah,
right?
bot.
This bot can hold a conversation like AI right now, generative AI, right? You could choose any avatar for this bot to assist you as you want to. As a
Right.
man, I would choose something that will be aesthetically pleasing to me.
Now I want titanium and blue eyes.
You know what?
I want
you
to see bot.
you want a
I want to see a
T1000
bot,
walking
correct,
through?
yes.
Wow. So you want a little flesh?
No.
No flesh?
I want blue eyes.
Life.
Like, yeah.
Lie.
I want
Why?
to know
Why?
you are
Well,
bot.
you see, that's a good question because I think AI really highlights and tests our humanity, and who we really are. Because when we using the porn site statistics and the keywords people use, it really brought out to understand human dynamics. So this is me from a purely intellectual point of view now.
Right.
I want to see how things work. I want to see what humans may come up with because to understand humanity better, because we have and this is one theme that always, we have these things inside of us that we lie. We don't tell the truth. We don't tell the truth of what we want. So when we have AI, when we could customize things, we will learn a little better about each other, what we really want. And I know we ending off, so let me go around and just give our thoughts on
You
on
could
this
start.
topic.
You're already on the floor.
My thought is that I prefer real, but I am intrigued by the technology. I am intrigued by not the superior part where it's thinking for us, but I have seen where even in my practice where you could help people with trauma. You could go into a virtual world and recreate a traumatic incident and help them work through it. So I understand and I appreciate the evolution of the technology. But from an intellectual point of view, I would say I want to see where it goes. I want to see where it takes us as men. And I would say for all men, we have to always learn to evolve and adapt. That's the better word. Adapt with whatever our surroundings are. So if the world is evolving into something, we men have to learn how to adapt and evolve with it to be able to not only survive, but thrive.
Kid,
Well, I'm very excited.
that's your camera.
I'm excited at the prospects of AI, what AI gonna give, and what man could use AI for, to really advance man from medicine right down to dealing with pollution, dealing with travel, everything like that. So I'm excited about it. And with relationships wise, there are many lonely people out there. It may be able to help with that too. Persons going through serious mental anguish and all that, the AI might be able to help too. So I'm positive. I'm on the positive side of the AI here with respect to helping out man.
So I will have a go. There's I don't know if they still use the term gigo or gigo or whatever, garbage in, garbage out. And so what you put in is what you get out. But you have to know what you're putting in and what ultimately is going to happen. And it's no longer type in this message or this phrase in and this is going to to come out, as we are still in the ANI phase, the generative phase. So we're still in a safe zone because we can control the outcome. When we start to get into the general intelligence and super intelligence is where we're now out of control. And men generally don't want to be out of control. So I am old school. I like the chase. I like to know. I like the touch and feel, and I can understand the fact that you put on, these virtual reality devices. You might even be able to tell, as Niall pointed out, we could be in that state now. Who knows? We don't know. But in my case, God is the boss. God comes first. I'm not trying to play God. I don't want anything that is even attempting to do that. And I believe in humanity, and I want to ensure that we know what we're doing. And it's all great now to assist, but it mustn't take over.
Assist but not take over. My final thoughts would be, guys, no need to fear something that we don't understand. We have had machines thinking for us for a very long time, computers, calculators. We have a lot of things. But don't let the male ego or the human ego override into a space where just because I don't understand it, I have to reject it. And last but not least, in terms of AI, go in and start looking at prompt engineering. I think that's a great place to start in getting to understand how, as AI starts to change or take over people's jobs, you could start creating jobs around on the other side of it.
And just to, sorry, I know you was going to give us a nice close there, but just to also say that, as you mentioned about apps, that, let's still hold on to our own creativity. Like write your own wedding vows. You're writing a book. Let the person who you're sharing it with know that it's sincere and it's not generated. Let's take away the artificial intelligence and let's use real intelligence and show, that something is meaningful and not created, generated.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a lot of pause. Another good topic here on Manhood. Really Johan say Keith, thanks for joining us today. And Niall, this was Manhood. AI, artificial intelligence.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.